So now that we know how to attach some nicer looking sprites or movie clips to our B2 bodies, maybe it's time to talk about overall architecture for our game. So we know that to show a display object, like a sprite or movie clip, we basically have two parts. All right, we have the display object, and that's the visual representation of the object in our game. And then we also have the B2 body, which is what I consider to be sort of the real object. This contains information about the body's motion and collision detection and all that sort of fun stuff. And so what we want to do is map the body's position and angle to our display object to give viewers the illusion that our display object is behaving in a realistic way. And then somewhere in all of this, we're not quite sure yet, we probably need to insert some game logic. So here's one way you can do it. We can have our stage, and it's got all sorts of sprites and movie clips and other display objects on there. And then, basically separate from that, we'll have our B2 world, and that's going to contain all our bodies that do all the motion and the misspelled collision detection. Oops. And then basically we'll have some type of sprite manager. Maybe this is a separate class. Maybe this is just a function that happens on the enter frame listener in the stage. But basically this little manager, as I'm calling it, takes care of mapping all of the display objects on the stage to their appropriate locations based on their corresponding B2 bodies. And then I'm not quite sure, maybe the game logic would also lie in the sprite manager. I don't really know because I haven't used this model ever. But I suppose if you're really into model view controller ways of looking at the world, maybe this appeals to you. Here's another way you can do it, and this is an approach I tried at first when I was making these games, which is to have what I call kind of a super sprite. This basically would extend sprite, and it would contain a B2 body. Basically, I would have some member variable within this sprite called my body that would point to a B2 body in the world. And then basically within my enter frame listener on this sprite, I would move it to where its body said it should be. And then it would also contain the game logic. And that works pretty well. At least it's worked in the past when I've tried it. However, this is what we're going to be doing, is we're going to create something called an actor class. Basically, this is kind of similar to my super sprite class in the previous slide, but it does everything through composition. So basically, it contains a display object. There's a member variable within this class that points to some sprite or some movie clip or I suppose some video or a text field. You can do anything, I guess. And it also contains a B2 body, and that contains all of the typical B2 body stuff. And then usually in the actor class, or probably something that inherits from the actor class, you're going to have the game logic. And that's kind of it. I've used this approach, and I like it a lot now that I've gotten used to it. I know it's probably the most common approach that other people are using, so if you're asking around on the forums, being able to use some type of actor class probably means that you're all speaking the same language. So kind of to summarize, the actor class basically contains a B2 body and a display object, usually a sprite or a movie clip, through composition. The body and the display object are member variables within this class. On every update, which basically happens every frame, we're going to look at where the body is. We're then going to move the display object to the corresponding location in the flash movie. And this gives the player the illusion that the display object is moving in a realistic way based on the behavior of the B2 body. And that is it. So now that we know the theory behind this actor class, let's start making one.